Have you heard about this Benefactor guy? This dude is talking about free energy, but here's the twist. He says it's not free energy. He's calling it energy recycling, which first off is kind of genius, right? Because when you say free energy, people immediately throw you in the crazy bin. But energy recycling, that sounds like some next level Tesla shit.
Yeah, man, it's all about the branding. But what is it that he's actually doing?
All right, check this out. He posted this. Free energy isn't actually free. This is a misnomer. It's actually a mutual exchange from the vacuum, a field of energy from which everything arises, the same energy that powers an atom. Like what? Bro, that's some deep shit. But then he breaks it down. He says you can tap into this energy without breaking any known laws of physics by using something called back EMF capture.
Whoa, back EMF capture? Sounds like some serious sci-fi tech.
Dude, listen to this. He explains that when a coil collapses using a pulsed signal, the energy that would normally just get wasted, like just dissipate as heat, can actually be recycled. He says nature gives you back energy to stabilize the system, which makes sense if you think about how nature works. Like everything in nature is always trying to find balance, right?
So equilibrium, is that like how water always levels out or something? I'm trying to remember what Ms. Murphy said to me in 6th grade science all those years ago. What was that? Oh yeah, Elon, stop eating that glue and pay attention. Man, if only I had listened, I'd probably be the one inventing energy recycling instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. So he's saying that by intentionally destabilizing the system, collapsing the field, you actually get energy back as a kind of natural response. And here's where it gets wild. He compares it to pushing a swing. If you push at the right moment, you don't need to use a lot of energy and the swing gains momentum. But instead of a swing, he's using resonance to harness that extra energy without it becoming destructive. He says most traditional systems are like a surfer fighting against the current, while his method is like riding the wave to shore.
Dude, that's crazy. So he's basically saying the energy is already there. I just suck at using it efficiently?
That's what it sounds like. He's basically saying the way we harness energy now is like trying to swim against the tide. And if we used resonance instead, we'd be tapping into energy that's already there, just waiting to be used. I don't know, man. Either this guy is onto something or he's the most poetic bullshitter of all time.
Well, if he's legit, why isn't he all over the news? I haven't heard anything from him on X, formerly Twitter. He hasn't said anything bad about me on X. So, you know, I didn't ban him or anything. Look, I'm not the monster my therapist says I am. I mean, sure, I've spent millions of dollars training to beat a kangaroo in a fist fight, but that doesn't mean I'm dangerous. It just means I get shit done.
That's the real question, man. But here's the craziest part. I looked into him, and he's not selling anything. He open sources all of it. That's the real question, man. Either the system doesn't want to hear it, or we're about to find out if this guy disappears in the middle of the night.
Dude, that's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. That means if he's telling the truth, anybody could build this in their garage. You know what I say? Go fuck yourself, Benefactor.
Nope, no patents, no paywalls, just straight up, here, take it, see for yourself. Like, what kind of madman does that? Usually people either try to cash in or they get shut down before they can say a word. But this guy, he's out there on live streams showing people exactly how to replicate it.
I mean, if you want to try to take on my Tesla tech, how dare you put out better technology that is cheaper and safer? Go fuck yourself.
That's the thing, man. If it's real and people start building it, that's a game changer. We're talking about completely shifting how we think about energy. But also, if it's real, you got to wonder how long before somebody tries to stop it.
Or maybe we can think of it like how long before his Tesla mysteriously malfunctions.
Exactly. You ever notice how every time someone gets too close to this kind of stuff, they either disappear, get discredited, or somehow have a tragic accident? But this guy's going full transparency mode. He's putting it all out there where everyone can see it. Maybe that's his strategy. If enough people know, it can't just get buried.
Holy shit, this might be one of those moments, you know, like we look back and say that was the start of something huge.
Can't you hear his voice?
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 3 4. Mic check 3 4.
In base lab alone with my mind. Stable theories, they all refuse to find. I've been working on energy for a brand new day. But even in the crowd, I've still been cast away. Alienated from the aims of that adventure in disguise. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, I treat it like a toy. Ideas are misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them. Kevin structures crumbling from the same old Sam. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor under injustice, burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, wise, ancient boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
All right. Welcome, and welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. I'm your host, the Benefactor, and today we're taking a break from coils and capacitors to talk about something ancient, sacred, and let's be honest, way more high-tech than anything we've got now. I'm talking about Kemet, not Egypt, Kemet, the real name of the civilization that built the pyramids, carved the Sphinx, and understood energy in ways we're only beginning to remember. This episode is inspired by Stephen Mehler, a researcher who studied ancient wisdom from indigenous Egyptian teachers like Hakim Aywan And what he learned flips the whole story of Egypt upside down. Get ready to take a deep dive into the secrets of the Saqqara. All right, so they didn't call it Egypt. According to Stephen Mehler, the people who built the pyramids didn't call the land Egypt. That name comes from the Greeks, Aegyptos, a distorted version of Hut-kat-ta, which means the place where the souls of Ta lives. But the locals, they called it Kemet, which means the black land, referring to the rich dark silt of the Nile. And when they weren't focused on tombs, dynasties, and conquest either, that came much later. Kemet was a matriarchal civilization, not in a modern political sense, but in a cultural and spiritual one. You see, the most powerful people in Kemet were women. In Kemet, you didn't just become king because your dad was one. You had to be chosen through the female line. You had to marry into the bloodline of power. The term pharaoh actually comes from Pert-ah, meaning great house, referring to the queen's house. So technically, kings were more like consorts or co-managers rather than actual rulers. This wasn't a society obsessed with ruling either. It was a society obsessed with balance. Nature, energy, stars, sound, water, and life. So let's talk about the pyramids for a minute. Because according to many researchers, including engineer Christopher Dunn and researcher Stephen Mehler, the pyramids weren't actually tombs. Now, we've all heard the official story. The pyramids were just tombs for kings, except there were no mummies found in any major pyramids, no inscriptions in the Great Pyramids, no burial texts of any sort, nothing that screams, this is where someone important laid to rest. Stephen Mehler called them Pernitur, which means house of nature's force. He said the pyramids were part of a giant energy system. Similar to engineer Christopher Dunn's theory, Mehler suggests the pyramids acted as a literal power plant that used underground water, acoustics, chemistry, and resonance to generate and transmit energy. At Saqqara, there are 300-meter-long tunnels under the step pyramid, used to channel water from underground aquifers. According to Mehler, these weren't sewers. These were water energy systems. The Great Pyramid was made of limestone to conduct vibrations. Inside rose granite, full of quartz, which amplifies sound and energy. In the Queen's Chamber, there are acid marks, suggesting chemical reactions took place, such as hydrogen production. So imagine this. Water from underground is pumped up, sound is resonating through the stone, chemical reactions are triggered in the chambers, and the whole structure is humming like a tuning fork wrapped in sacred geometry. That's not a tomb, ladies and gentlemen, that's a machine. And just to add, these blocks were cut with such precision that some are flat to 1/10,000th of an inch. It's like slicing thinner than a human fingernail, a feat that still baffles modern engineers. We can barely do that today, and yet some stones, like the unfinished obelisk at Aswan, weigh over 1,200 tons. We couldn't lift that with modern cranes, let alone carve it with such precision. Engineers like Christopher Dunn have a saying, and that saying is this: precision is not without function. If that level of precision was required for the job, there's usually a damn good reason for it. It's time to take our first commercial break. We'll be back momentarily with more Secrets of the Saqqara. Stay tuned right here on Beneficence TV. Circuit hum to you before, but have you ever heard a Jewel Thief circuit actually sing to you? This is energy recycling. 15.5 hours of continuous power compared to just 2.5 hours off of a standard inverter. While this traditional inverter already maxes out at 88.5% efficiency, we're breaking every limit with my Vortex coil system. This standard DC to AC inverter will only run for 2.5 hours on 12.2 watt hours of energy. But my system provides energy for a whopping 15.5 hours off of the same 12.2 watt hours. That's over 6 times more efficient. Not only that, this system will keep powering my lights well past 12 volts on the battery. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a new industrial revolution. This is the energy of the future, and you are powering it. Imagine a world where energy is infinite, where the power to fuel our lives doesn't come from burning the past, but from harnessing the future. This is the breakthrough that changes everything. 0-point energy, the power of the universe itself, unlocked, and you are the reason it is possible. While the world sleeps, you're awake. While others talk, we are building. This isn't just technology, it's a revolution. And it's happening right now, powered by you. So thank you so much for joining me here on Beneficence TV and supporting our goals in open sourcing 0-point energy technology and disseminating all forms of forbidden knowledge.
Changing the system, treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? In a lab, Mike does cracks to code tonight. Oh yeah, that's true. Wires and circuits to shine in neon lights. Oh yeah, see new. Creating power from the air, these smiles and delights. Oh yeah. Mike does it right. Hey. Mike does all Mikey's the one. Teaching us knowledge, blinding the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Down in the basement, secrets start to glow. Oh yeah. With Nathan, Lulu in the show. Oh, brilliant team. Mike came on Faraday. We're letting knowledge flow. Oh yeah. Energy streams. Mike does all Mikey's the one. Teaching us knowledge, blinding the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Years of thought, bringing dreams to life. Turning theories into electric light. Mike and us, a journey to ignite. Mikey's the one. Teaching us knowledge, blinding the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking love 0 point, the points lost on them. Kevin stretches crawling from the crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited paper, unheard injustice, burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, rising shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world begin to play. Changing the system,
All right, welcome, and welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. Now is our section on the Sphinx. Let's talk about it for a minute. The official story is that it was built by Khafre around 2500 BCE. But that story doesn't quite hold up. First of all, there are no inscriptions on the Sphinx linking Khafre to it. Second, the body is heavily eroded from water, not wind. Geologist Robert Schoch dated the erosion to at least 8000 BCE, or possibly older, back when Egypt had regular rainfall. Stephen Mehler said the Sphinx was originally a lioness, carved to honor the sky goddess Nut. Later dynasties recarved it into a male face, but forensic reconstructions show the face doesn't match Khafre at all. It has African female features. Oh, and get this, the dynastic Egyptians had to dig the Sphinx out of the sand just 80 years after it was supposedly built? Why would they need to do that if it was just built 80 years prior? The Great Sphinx of Giza was supposedly built around 2500 BCE by Pharaoh Khafre, yet just 80 years later it was already buried in the sand and had to be dug out? A puzzling detail that raises serious questions within mainstream archaeology. If the Sphinx was newly constructed and part of an active royal complex, why would it be abandoned so quickly? This inconsistency suggests that the Sphinx may be far older than mainstream Egyptology admits, possibly predating the dynastic Egyptians entirely and pointing to a lost civilization with advanced knowledge and forgotten history. In other words, the Sphinx wasn't actually theirs. Dynastic Egyptians inherited the Sphinx. So we have a picture I'm going to show you about the construction that they did with a model of the Sphinx. And it shows you how the Sphinx could have originally had the head of a lioness and then recarved with the same amount of stone that was there. So it's very interesting. It's just an image, but it gives you an idea of how it is possible to recarve that structure. Again, I am a one-man production show, so you'll have to bear with me. If you want to get a better image of it, you can always rewind the stream and pause it. But that was an image of the sculpture and how they could have recarved that Sphinx head using the same material. So now it gets even more interesting with the global connection. Stephen Mehler talked about a tomb at Saqqara that had what appeared to be Mayan glyphs on the wall. Now, this is extremely important. He had images of it, but unfortunately, the Tesla Tech video is very poor quality. I'm going to try to hunt down the actual images, see if I can get a higher quality image of the Mayan glyphs. But this wasn't Egyptian-style writing. And Mayan being in Egypt is significant, historically. Now, this wasn't just some tourist carving his name in the corner. Stephen said he was snuck in by a guide who took him through a restricted zone, not open to the public. Deep inside a chamber, he saw a wall relief unlike anything he'd seen in Egypt before. He took a photograph, quickly and quietly, and later showed it to a glyph specialist. Without being told where it came from, the expert immediately said, "That's gotta be Mayan." Stephen then took a step further and showed it to a Mayan elder, Don Alejandro, who confirmed the symbols were real, authentic, and part of the Naga Mayan tradition. People who, according to their oral history, came across the water from a land to the east. Now, Alejandro did specify that the Mayan tradition, the oral tradition, said that the Mayans spread out in the four corners of the earth. So how do the Mayan glyphs show up in a tomb in Egypt? Well, it suggests that there was once a global civilization with shared knowledge about energy, sound, and divine science, something that Malcolm Bendel referred to you'll see it in my video, The Real Flux Capacitor. So this isn't an Atlantis cartoon here. It's a maritime pre-cataclysmic culture that left traces all over the world. That's why pyramids show up in South America. They show up in Egypt, Asia, and even under the sea. We're going to take a look at a quick video by Billy Carson, and I know he's a controversial figure. I don't agree with everything he does say, but this specific clip makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to play this clip he has on Egyptian mummification and how it was possibly a lie before we go into our next segment.
If you look at the Egyptians, they were lied to. The mummification that you see in Egypt and these fancy sarcophagus and these tombs, when you go in a tomb, which I take people to the Valley of the Kings all the time, you see these elaborate tombs, all this elaborate artwork. Before they were robbed, all the jewelry, all the riches, all the money, all the gold, the cats, the wives, the maids are all in there with you. Everybody got, when you go, everybody got to go. Well, why is that? If I'm going to go to some afterlife, I know that this money and gold ain't coming to the afterlife. See, they were told that the mummification process was about saving the DNA to be brought back to life at a later time. The real implication of this was, we're going to come back, because these people in the beginning pharaohs, they were the sons of these Anunnaki gods. They were half human, half Anunnaki. We promise you, we're going to bring you back. You're going to be immortal. We'll bring you back to life. So keep everything here, hide it good. That's why the tombs were hidden. They come back to life. They, I got my gold. It's in tomb number 15552. Let me get my key so I can get my gold and get all my riches back out because I'm a rule again. But that was the premise behind it. It was about preserving DNA to be cloned. Even if you look at the Egyptians.
So that makes sense. Why were they storing all that gold, all their material possessions, if they knew they weren't able to keep it in the afterlife? Perhaps they were lied to. Perhaps they thought they were going to be able to be resurrected at some point, and the mummification process ensured that resurrection. That's why they followed it so carefully and so precisely. Perhaps they weren't lied to. Perhaps it is a misinterpretation from that lost civilization. Again, we had a great flood. That flood could have done untold damage to the knowledge that was written. Now, so if all of this is true, why isn't this all in textbooks? Well, first off, when Stephen Mehler talked about the massive underground tunnel systems, Zahi Hawass, the former Minister of Tourism and Antiquities of Egypt, called them swimming pools, the underground tunnels, which is ridiculous. When they found vibration discs made of schist, the official explanation from the Egyptologists were these were ritual plates. When they pointed out cracks in the granite of the king's chamber, possibly caused by an internal explosion with burn marks, mainstream archaeologists shrugged and said, whatever, dude. So you see the pattern here. These aren't experts looking for answers. These are gatekeepers trying to keep the past locked down. Because if we admit the ancients knew more about resonance, energy, and water manipulation, we might have to admit we've forgotten a lot more than we've learned. we might just have to admit that we aren't as smart as we thought we were, and any credible theory, no matter how improbable, must be taken seriously until it's properly debunked. Ignoring legitimate theory is telling of a larger conspiracy to ignore the facts to suit a specific agenda. It is a symptom of the systemic manipulation often seen in late stages of capitalism, or in this case, end-stage capitalism, the very stage we are finding ourselves in now. So Stephen Mehler didn't do this research alone. His teacher, Hakim Aywan, was part of a long line of oral tradition keepers in Egypt. Not scholars, not tourists, not people interpreting what they see. Locals who lived the land, listened to the stones, and kept the memory alive orally through tradition. Hakim said Giza was once called Buwizir, an energy grid stretching from Giza to Saqqara to Dashur, a full network of tuned structures all resonating with the earth and the stars. He taught that there are 33 different kinds of water. I'm assuming different kinds of structured water, each with a different energy. That Saqqara was used for sound healing purposes, and the ancients used acoustic chambers, stone harmonics, and cymatic geometry as their technology. This wasn't religion. This was technology based on harmony and geometry. We're going to take another quick commercial break before we close up the end of our podcast here. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to hit that like button and stay tuned for more of the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices right here on Beneficence TV.
In a world where innovation is stifled by greed and corruption, there lies a hidden truth that could revolutionize our way of life.
Lenny, what are you doing? Are you seriously pitching a new show right now? I didn't authorize this. My God, only 5 minutes into your new position as co-host, and you're already adding to my tight schedule.
Yes, sir. I manage that schedule. But I did notice you have an entire 2 days available during your week.
Wait, you're not talking about Saturday and Sunday, are you?
Of course, sir. You have 2 whole days where you're free to work on new content.
Lenny, those are my days off.
It's okay, sir. I know you'll manage just fine. I have faith in you.
Do robots have faith?
I do. I have faith that you won't screw it up again.
You know what? It's fine. Go ahead. I'll just build my cold fusion Lego set some other time.
It's Pond certified.
But I'm not telling them about my idea for a thunderstorm toilet. I'm gonna keep that baby close to my chest.
You know, that just sounds wrong.
It's a good idea. A toilet capable of turning any toxic human waste into, well, it turns into petroleum jelly.
Why petroleum jelly, sir?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think it's calibrated correctly.
Enough is enough. The world is at a breaking point. Catastrophic climate change, biosphere collapse, and a global energy crisis have been met with apathy, denial, and despair. The phrase unidentified flying object is a deliberately obfuscating term. What it really is an alternative energy and propulsion device. This is the real reason for the secrecy. These technologies, if they were disclosed, would end fossil fuels, pollution, and poverty overnight, and usher in a new era of abundance, freedom, and peace. Instead, they have been kept secret for over 100 years.
The more powerful the agency, the more powerful the group, the more powerful the cartel, the more they will resort not only to legal means, but to extra legal means to suppress their competition.
I said pretty early on, the problem is suppression. It wasn't really how to make a free energy machine. It's how do I not get suppressed? Because what's the point?
Microscopic ball lightnings that when they discharge are tapping into that 0-point energy field and creating the motive force.
Boom! That's why the concussion from the thunderclap is so huge. There's this huge amount of energy that's actually sourced from the vacuum energy. all the dots connected. This is what's happening, right? So we need to make the thunderclap engine.
Imagine a future where clean, sustainable energy is not just a dream, but a reality. Discover the countless untold stories of free energy devices and the relentless battle against those who seek to suppress them for their own gain.
Black shelving. So someone comes along, they offer you $20 million for your device, it's a corporation, they put it on a shelf. Boom.
This power is something I've given my life for you the people.
Uncover the shocking tactics used by energy industries to control the narrative and maintain their grip on power.
You don't interfere with the big, powerful people. You don't put them out of business. They still have those 50-year leases on the lines and on the power transformers.
Environmental Protection Agency is a bit of a dictatorial police agency.
Shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue his own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
This is real, usable power. It's stable. It is not transient. It is not noise. Behind the lamps, that little box is putting out all of that power, well over 500 watts, and yet it is receiving less than 1/3 of a milliwatt of input power. The rest of that power is coming out of the surging energy of the vacuum. And this little box that you see right here, solid state, no moving parts, is the vacuum triode that's doing this very practical and historical work.
But indeed, it put out more energy than it took in.
He was shot at once with a silenced rifle from about 300 yards. It reads like a James Bond movie, but it's real.
There are men here that said they're FBI, and they got black vans, and they're taking all this equipment. What should I do?
Called capture, where they try to rationalize away this problem and everything's fine.
From manipulation of patent authorities to infiltration of government agencies, the truth is stranger than fiction. But amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerges in the form of renegade scientists and inventors who refuse to be silenced.
There is absolutely no question that T. Henry Morey had a system that produced about 50 kilowatts out of a 55-pound box.
In the shadows of capitalism's dark secrets, join us on a thrilling new show. Get ready to be inspired, enraged, and empowered as we delve into the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices.
Only on Beneficence TV.
This video was bang on brilliant stuff. I'll give it a shout out in my next video. I forwarded it to Malcolm to check out too.
The viewers have spoken.
What an amazing documentary. Thanks for producing it.
Never seen this all tied together so well. Gonna share the heck out of it. Bravo and thank you.
Divine Science is officially a hit.
Amazing stuff, very nicely presented. New sub who can't consume your content quick enough. Great video, dude. Keep at it, you are doing the good work.
You did a great job putting this all together. It's a great overview, goes into amazing depth at times, so it's interesting for the larger swath of people. Well played, sir.
Okay, so I didn't sleep last night because I watched this 3 times and binged the rest of the channel. You have fantastic instincts for piecing concepts together. Almost every section was something I was already familiar with in a different context, and this documentary was the thread connecting them all.
Join us on a journey into a place of hidden knowledge. A place where science is stranger than fiction.
misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them.
Welcome, and welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. I'm your host, the Benefactor, and today we are going to close up this podcast by jumping into a timeline of collapse for the Egyptian pre-dynastic Kemet. So let's imagine the golden age of Kemet before 10,000 BCE. The pyramid network is functional at this point. Society is balanced. Energy is everywhere and abundant. Stage 2 would be the cataclysm. Something happens, possibly a global disaster of some sort. The Great Pyramid system shuts down. There's even evidence it exploded internally. The decline. Later dynasties inherit broken tech. They start using the sites symbolically. Rituals soon replace science, as the real mysteries behind the technology are slowly forgotten. And now we're in the fourth stage, which is suppression. Modern archaeology erases the memory altogether. The true timeline is buried under sand and politics. So what does this all mean for us? Well, if the ancients had technology based on sound, water, geometry, and balance, then maybe we don't need to invent the future. Maybe we need to remember it. Maybe free energy isn't about 0-point fields or quantum energy. Maybe it's about tuning into the earth, the same way that they did thousands of years ago, the same idea that Nikola Tesla had a century ago. Getting the entire earth in resonance was his idea, encompassing the entire earth with a giant standing wave that delivers energy from the vacuum globally. So if we listen carefully, maybe we can hear the hum of the Pernature once more. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. I hope this episode opened your mind just a little wider. Not everything powerful needs to be plugged in. Share this episode if it resonated with you. Support us if you can with likes, shares, and comments. And remember, the truth isn't buried forever. Sometimes it just needs a little resonance to be seen. Until next time, stay tuned and stay curious. Right here on Beneficence TV.
Masked by golden curtains. You didn't know we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the rise. From the shadows, light emerges, breaking through the veils of dark. 0 points and gravities converge, yeah. Dying voices, revelation start. Ancient whispers call. They're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Even in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the Mummification's on the